I'd like to start by just asking each of our panelists to speak briefly about your respective organization, your role within it, and the types of employment opportunities available to students and new graduates. Okay, shall we start with Natasha?
Sure. Is this on? As Sandra mentioned, my name is Natasha Stoddart. I work at KPMG. There are currently two offices. One is the downtown office, and one is the uptown office, which is just south of the 401 still, so it's still close. And I work in the North York office. I work in the symbol ICE, which is Information Communications and Entertainment, which is a division of the audit practice. So there's a few different divisions, and they're basically segregated by the type of clients that you have, basically industry. And I worked in the firm for 10 years. I have come straight out of school and been at the firm, and obviously I've been there 10 years. I do enjoy the firm, I do enjoy the people, and I do enjoy my job. And the pay is not so bad, so I stay. And what was your other questions?
So your role, your organization, and the opportunities that are available to students and new grads.
I think the answer for that might be similar across the board in terms of the opportunities, but basically the opportunities is you come in as a starter in the firm and as a role as a junior accountant, and you work your way up through the different various levels. There's obviously 2 years of junior, 2 to 3 years depending on the firm, and I think the acronyms might be different, but I think it's generally the same. And you go in through audit, generally the audit group, or there might be some other companies offer different areas, but generally it's through the audit practice, and you work your way up. And the one thing I do want to make mention is when you do come in through an accountant, you're not sort of in the firm at that sort of an auditor for life, like what you think I am. You do have the opportunities to move various parts of the firm and various parts of the world. So, you know, the opportunities are unlimited, and you can definitely have different roles and responsibilities at various stages of your career at one firm or any firm.
Thank you.
Hi, as mentioned, I'm Shaweta Singh from Deloitte. I have been with the firm 5.5 years. I'm a senior accountant. I do a lot of different things at Deloitte. I'm a part of our quality assurance group, just making sure that we're following our internal policies, external policies as well. I'm also a part of our national group, so making sure or developing policies and procedures that are to be followed throughout the Canadian audit practice. The roles, basically we're looking for somebody starting at the staff accountant level. We will be looking for summer interns and full-time positions starting in fall of next year.
Hi everyone, my name's Sue Choi. I'm the Talent Acquisition Manager for Grant Thornton. So I've just recently joined the firm. I've been with Grant Thornton for about 6 months. As some of you may be aware, I came from one of the firms up here today. Won't say who. But the reason why I'm here today is to share some information about Grant Thornton. We are the 5th largest accounting firm, and we have actually the largest number of offices across Canada. So we're really excited. We'll be here on campus at Atkinson. We'll also be here tomorrow evening for the combined information session, looking for new graduates to join our firm for September 2011. So, after this session, if you have any questions, we all have our booths set up. If you have any, lingering concerns, or you just want to find out some more details, please feel free to approach me. And I guess that goes with everyone else on the panel. So, hope you enjoy the session.
Hey, okay, so I'm Sandra Singer. I'm a York alumni, first of all, so good to be on campus. I actually teach here, so I spend a lot of time on campus, so it's nice to be around Central Square and York Lanes and all that fun stuff. So I've been working at PwC for the last 4 years in the audit and assurance group. So I work in the TICE group, which is similar to the ICE group, just add technology and you get TICE. And so when I was in your shoes, I was definitely looking at all the firms, and I think what attracted me most to PwC was just really great people, but also top tier clients. So some of the clients that I get to work on in my group are Cineplex, so I think everyone goes to the movies, so we all know about that, and Oxford Properties Group. So they property management, property owners like Yorkdale, Scarborough Town Center, that kind of stuff. So really great client base and lots of learning opportunities. So that's why I've stayed with the firm. We are out on campus tomorrow night for the joint session, just like everyone else, looking for summer associates. Are a lot of people here for summer? Anyone here for summer? So summer and full-time, starting in January and September of next year. So look out for us, and happy to be here.
So my next question is wondering if you can enlighten us about the recruitment process, what's involved in the application process, specific hiring dates, materials that are required, and what to expect during an interview with your firm.
Application deadline September 17th for Schulich, and for Atkinson students or York students in general is September 22nd. You'll hear back within a week's time about an interview, so you should get a package in the mail. After that, you'll have the interview, and then there's a post-offer reception where you get to meet more staff. Just advice for the process for the recruiting event tomorrow. Definitely take the time to meet as many people as you can from all the different firms. You don't want to just meet one person and sort of generalize that the whole firm's like that. Get the opportunity to talk to lots of people. Do your research into the firms. Get a feel from their websites about the companies, what you think makes them distinctive, and ask really good questions. Like I think it's really important that when you're standing around, you'll find that the student to rep ratio is small, right? So there's going to be you and a big circle of students and another rep. So make sure that you have good engaging questions so that you can stand out in their minds, and they get to know you and you get to know them. So it's definitely a two-way street, so you want to get a good feel from the info sessions. Yeah, and then so the interview process itself is a little bit different for summer and full-time. Summer is two interviews, whereas full-time is 3 interviews with a partner, a manager, and a staff accountant like myself. And behavioral based, very similar I think across all firms. So it's not like an iBank or a finance interview where you'll get like a technical question. It's very much scenario based. Tell us about a time when you had a leadership experience. Tell us about a time when you worked on a team. Those kind of situations where we can really get a feel for your personality. No one's going to ask you to, do a consolidation or anything like that. But yeah, I think I answered all your questions. But yeah.
Natasha, your hand up. Did you want to go next?
No, I definitely my hand.
Sorry. Okay. All right. So then we'll
You sure?
School.
Okay, so for Grant Thornton, we're a little bit different. Our application deadline is actually Thursday, September 16th at 5 p.m. So regardless of what campus, what school you're from, that's our deadline date. Materials that you need to submit are resume, cover letter, transcript, and also statement of interest. So what is the statement of interest? It's about 250 words, and it's a guided question. You'll have a couple questions on our website that'll help you get through what is my statement of interest for Grant Thornton. But all 4 documents have to be submitted in order for your application to be processed. So if you're missing any of them, we will not look at your application. Okay, so please take the time. And again, our deadline September 16th, 5 p.m., very hard deadline. Our interview process following, so you will know by probably about the 22nd if you will be interviewing with us. Either myself or a member of my team will contact you. Interviews will be held in our Toronto office, which is downtown Toronto, Royal Bank Plaza, South Tower. And those interviews will be hosted, facilitated by myself, and you'll most likely be meeting with a partner, senior manager, or a manager. So it's just one interview, and then at least within the next 48 hours after your interview, you will know if you have an offer in hand. And just to speak on behalf of everyone here, the deadline, the absolute last day that you have to accept offers with any of the firms is October 25th at 5 p.m. That's when all offers close for the big 4 firms and the 2 mid-sized firms. So that's the deadline date and please, if you know what firm you want to go to and you know earlier than the 25th, it's always a good thing to sign back when you know and not wait until the 25th at 4:49 p.m. So that's just a little sneak peek into Grant Thornton, and I guess what making your application stand out, or attend the session tomorrow and try to ask your own questions. Don't ask what's your favorite thing about the firm, or can you tell me about the culture? Questions that you really want answered. So culture you can find out by meeting all the reps that you meet that come out tomorrow, right? But again, make them the questions your own, and give something to talk about in your cover letter when you're applying. So just a word of advice.
So our deadlines are September the 17th at 9 a.m. I'm just going to put my instructor hat on for a bit and just give a piece of advice. Please don't wait till the last minute, till 8:50 in the morning. Please apply early in case you run into any technology issues or anything like that. Our interview process would be very similar, very behavioral type questions. We're not going to ask you to do anything technical accounting or auditing. What I remember from my interview with Deloitte was, what did you do at this job? Just give me an example here, something like that. So make sure you understand your resume well, what you're putting on your resume, make sure you know it. Another piece of advice I would have is make sure you tailor your cover letter and your resume to the company you're applying to. So if you're applying to Deloitte, make sure you're talking about Deloitte. It says Deloitte, not any other company's name on top of it. Believe me, more often than not, it does happen. So make sure you take care of that before you apply. Did I miss a question? Is that correct? Yeah.
No, I think we've covered pretty much it.
Yeah.
Over to you, Natasha.
Our deadline is September the 16th at the end of the day. So I think we're a little earlier, probably the same as Gwen, actually. And our interview process will begin, it's actually 3 days, October 3rd, 4th, and, that's the weekend, so we won't be doing that. 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Have fun.
Yeah. 5th, 6th, and 7th. We'll have two offices, uptown and downtown will have interviews. You will come to the firm and you will have two interviews at the same time. So you will meet with the manager or senior manager, and then you will then flip and meet with the partner of the firm as well. And you will soon find out, basically a day or two or even the day off, if you've been provided with a job with the firm. As mentioned before, October 25th is the deadline, so that is across the board. The interview process is, it's fairly relaxed, so you've got to come in your suits and everything and look the part, and that's great. But the people that you're interviewing with, as a word of advice, at some point it may not seem like when you meet a grey-haired partner that at one point they were once where you were. So they're people, so feel relaxed, and the behavioral questions are really about you. So you cannot give a right or a wrong answer. They're your answers. There's no technical questions. There's no auditing 101 or anything like that. So just try and think about when you're going into an interview, what you see yourself as doing in the firm, what would you do in a situation, and that's your answer. So, just try and be relaxed when you provide that answer. And the only other word of advice that I can give, and I think everyone's mentioned it here, is just get to meet as many people as you want. But true to form, what these people have mentioned before is that this is about you. So ask the questions that you care about, not what you think the recruiter wants to hear or your friend wants to find out. It's really about you. It's your future, and we're just here to help you get to where you want to go to. So, make sure your questions are focused and directed to where you want to go.
Thank you.
Just a word of advice for tomorrow. Don't hang around with your friends. Walk around by yourself. You guys all come, and it happens every year. 3 of you come, 1 person does the talking, 2 people do the nodding, and it's, if you think about it, when you're being interviewed, it's us and you. We're not asking you and your friends to come in. So ditch your friends tomorrow. You can hang out with them after the session, but just hang out on your own. You'll get a lot more out of it tomorrow.
I did have a question to clarify what you mentioned, Sue. You said that at Grant Thornton, if you're missing a document as part of your application, then your application is not reviewed.
Right.
Is that the same across the board for all?
Yes, for KPMG.
Yeah, that's true for us too. And I forgot to mention it before. We require your cover letter, your resume, and your transcripts.
That's the same for PwC.
Yeah, same as well.
Same across.
Yeah.
Okay. So, moral of the story is make sure you read the instructions, the hiring instructions, the application instructions very carefully. What a feedback. And tailor your resume, tailor your cover letter. Take the time to write an application specifically targeted for the firms that you're interested in. And I think what I heard was tell the firms something interesting about yourself, not just sort of the standard phrases, but give some concrete examples of your accomplishments, and really try to demonstrate why you're genuinely interested in the firm and why you think you'd be a good fit for the firm. Michael? Deloitte and Touche, when you're trying to apply to a KPMG or Grant Thornton or another firm.
It happens, and we swap them actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so my next question, probably most of you here in the room are dreaming of joining one of the big firms, big accounting firms, but the reality is that not everyone will get selected and get in. My question to the panelists is, what advice do you have for those students who do not get recruited by your firm? What are their options? Where else can they explore opportunities?
So I guess first I'll start with summer internships. Actually, I don't hire summer interns here at this campus, but if you don't get a summer internship, it's not the end of the world. Your life isn't over. It just, if anything, consider as practice for when you're applying for new grad roles. Okay, because there's always a small number of summer spots. And then for new grad, if you weren't selected or if you're interviewed and you weren't offered, again, not the end of the world, because we actually do hire recent graduates and we do dip back and come back to campus in some years. So not the end of the world. What else can you do? Make things better. So get involved with, campus organizations, extracurricular, make your application better, because you don't know, again, if we're going to come to campus or what the case is. Then what else you can do is, get some advice from the institute. So the ICAO will also be in attendance tomorrow. And, whether it be, you're still looking for kind of a CA articling job, or say you were with a firm and you're no longer with this firm and you're still looking to, for your kind of your qualifying hours or whatever you want to call it these days, they can really help you out. They have a database of where you can post your resume or where firms can post that they're seeking. And so the Institute can really bridge that gap as well. So, the competition is tough. Not everyone in this room is going to get a job. The reality of it is that there will never be enough, roles for you to kind of fulfill all of you and everyone at every other school. So competition is tough, but you have to take advantage of the resources that are available.
Natasha?
The one piece of advice that I'd give you is, even if you know what firm you're at and you'd really like to go to, say you really love a PwC or EY or KPMG, please submit your resume and everything to all the firms, because, you've just always got to increase your chances. Well, the people on the panel here would love for you to come to our firm. We are competing for, very limited amount of spots with thousands of resumes. So I would always recommend that you submit your resume to every single firm that you've met and would like to join. Obviously, don't just submit it to anybody you don't know, but keep your options open, because at the end of the day, you are looking for a step into a firm, and you just never know. That might have been the right fit at the end of the day. It may have not been your number one choice, but it might have worked for you later on down the line. So I'd always keep your options open. If you don't get a job, but you have a contact with somebody at a firm, keep that contact going over the years. I think a lot of people have done that, where they haven't sort of got a job, but they've kept in contact with a senior or a manager, and a year down the track, they've come back into the firm or got a job in a different region. So, they might have moved to an Ottawa or a Waterloo, and then got a different position in a different place. Always keep in contact with people that you know. And also, the other thing too is, if your friends did get a job and you didn't, they're at the firm. So, you know people that are in the firm, and, there could be possibilities of looking for positions later on, and you might be working at a small firm and could move to a big firm. You might be working in industry and want to work in a big firm, or a big firm and going to a smaller firm. There's all these different things. There's many opportunities out there. You just always got to keep trying, I guess, is my point.
I would just add to Susan's comment. If you go to ICO's website, there are a list of CA-accredited firms there that you can check, and they're based by mid-sized, national level, smaller firms. So do some research on those firms, see how big or how small they are, and if you do find a good fit, I would try contacting them as well. And another website is casource.com. I think it's Institute's website. So that is where you can post your resumes. But just keep in mind, it's not the end of the world if you don't get it now. Just keep trying. Don't let your motivation levels go down because it didn't work out for you. I know when I was going through it, I made it into a much bigger monster than it actually was. And my grades, I could feel it on my grades. I didn't feel like studying. So make sure you don't let yourself go down that path. Keep your options open by not restricting yourself to any one particular firm.
I was wondering if you could repeat the website.
CASource, CASOURCE.com.
Everyone hear that? casource.com. Thank you.
I think I want to add 2 things to that. Also, if you do get an interview but you don't get a job, it depends on how forthcoming your interviewer is, but I would follow up with that person. Just say, I really enjoyed meeting you. I would love to get feedback on the interview, especially if you have one earlier on and a few lined up after that. So getting that feedback, maybe they felt that you weren't really that comfortable talking about your experiences, or you were really, really nervous. So any feedback like that can definitely help you perfect your interview skills, because it's definitely a challenge when you don't have that exposure. Like, I remember when I was going through it, myself and my friends mock interviewed each other, and it was silly, but it actually definitely helped us, because it put us in that situation of answering behavioral type questions. And once you've already answered a question like that and you're answering it for a second time, you're much better the 3rd, 4th, 5th time, right? So having that practice in advance and getting that feedback is always great. And now you can, I think, or it's a pretty recent thing that you can write the CKE and the SOA and the UFE without having a firm sponsoring you. So don't give up on it. There are firms that take in staff in January of the following year. So if you start the UFE process without a firm, you can get in there. Or, as someone had said, start small and move into the bigger firms later on. The CA is definitely worth pursuing, whether it's with a Big 4 or a Big 6 firm or whatever or not. So don't give up on that.
Is there anything that students who don't get in initially, and if this year, if they're applying and they don't get in this year, is there anything that they could be doing in terms of getting experience or building certain skills that will help them down the road or the next time they apply?
I'll start with that, I guess. If you don't get in this year, you don't have to go and look for an accounting job before you can apply with us again. We're not looking for accounting experience. I didn't even have it before I got hired. Any sort of experience where you can show us that you have good communication skills, you've worked in teams. And these things may sound very generic and very repetitive to you, but these are some of the basic things we do look for. Working in your projects in school, that's a part of teamwork. So you should be able to put that out there in your resume, in your cover letter. Doing volunteer work is a great way as well. And if you happen to have accounting work, of course, that's an added bonus. Not to say that's a requirement, but if you have it, if you can do it, then put it there.
I guess just to add on to Shweta's comment, it's just transferable skills, right? So again, are we looking, even for new grads, are we looking for people with accounting backgrounds or accounting experience? No, I mean, you could have worked at McDonald's for the last 5 years. That's fine. It's transferable skills, customer service, teamwork, communication, organizational, all of those things that we can take and bring you into the firm. Even if you have accounting experience, chances are what you've done at a smaller firm or whatever the case is, we're probably going to have to reteach you how to do things our way anyhow. And I think that pretty much works for all of the firms up here. So while accounting experience is great, it's not necessary, and just because you have it doesn't make you a shoo-in either, right? So it's about the skill base, and that's why we kind of ask behavioral questions, for example, in our interviews.
Anything else to add?
I would say also beyond work experience, just expanding your extracurricular involvement and getting involved in projects that you're really excited about that are different, right? Because when we were talking about having things that jump off of your resume that are different, that's a really good way to differentiate yourself through like some really exciting volunteer work or extracurricular work. And that's like a good way to balance out your resume, because oftentimes, especially in Atkinson, you have good work experience behind you, right? A lot of you are working jobs at the same time as you're in school, which definitely shows great balance for all the firms. So that extracurricular may be something else that will differentiate you.
Okay, so my last question before I open the discussion to the floor. Thinking back to the candidates and applicants that you have come across, what would you say distinguish those individuals who succeeded at the various stages of the recruitment process from those who did not? So basically, what made those who succeeded successful?
I can start. I think it goes back to the question we just sort of had an answer, was in terms of it doesn't come down to, you've got to have a minimum average grade to get through, the interview process to get accepted at the firm. But the rest of it really comes down to the fit. And I'm not selling KPMG slogan, it really does. That was not deliberate. But really it comes down to how you'd come into the firm and work, because really the organizations are team-based. We are a team, we're people. Our biggest assets at all the firms are people. It's not an accounting book, it's not any sort of textbook, it's really the people. We sell the people, we deploy the people out there. So what it comes down to for us, for the successful candidates, is the people that sort of can get out there and talk to different people who you've met on campus, you've met different people. When you come to the interview, be able to answer the questions as honestly as you can and as best to your ability that you can. And those answers basically then project out to how it would work in a firm, in a KPMG or a Deloitte or PwC environment. So if how you worked in a group where you had a setting where you had a difficult person who wasn't pulling their weight, it's the same thing in a team-based at a different firm. So I think it comes down to the successful candidates. It's basically your ability to show your personality, to show your attributes. What is your skill set that you can bring? As long as you've got your grade, we don't really look to see, A+ in auditing, A- in management accounting. We assume you know nothing when you came into the firm, and basically we teach you everything. That's what the whole CA process is teaching you what you need to know, those essentials. You can get that and learn that. That's not a problem. So my thing, in summary, in this long-winded Australian way to say things, is really it's your qualities. It's what you bring that sets you apart, and it's showing your personality at the end of the day and showing your attributes.
Seems like you didn't leave much for me to say. No. So just adding to KPMG's comments, I would say we look for people who do have a vision. When we bring you into the firm, we think you could be our future leaders, who are going to be running our firms. But on the same token, we look for people, who don't say that, why am I just doing photocopying here for a month or for 2 weeks? It's a part of our job. No work is too big or too small. So having the right attitude makes a big difference in the firm. And over the years that I've seen people succeed, you do have great mentors to work in the firm that you can look up to. But on the same token, how do you treat your juniors matter a lot as well. So again, I think it comes down to having the right attitude, believing that no work is too big or too small, and just having a positive attitude towards everything.
I don't know much to say, but I guess, during the whole process, and this may sound, cliche or whatever it is, but again, it is about fitting in, and it's about being real. So if, you see a member of my team tomorrow and you're putting on this act and for a fact you were not acting like yourself, and they love you and you're interviewed and offered, well, that's great. You're going to have to act that way when you come into the firm. And how comfortable is that going to be? Let's say you're on a long engagement and it's a really long day and it's like 12 hours and you're not yourself. So it's, you take it as it is, and if we like you, we like you. You don't. But it's that kind of mentality. So, for example, there's 5 firms up here. Everyone will look at us differently. You might feel like you really get along with the people from, Deloitte or KPMG or an EY, or you might feel differently about another firm. So, just being real through the process. Keep in contact with people you want to keep in contact with. Don't collect 8 business cards tomorrow and just carpet bomb email everyone the same thing and, email everyone insistently every 2 weeks. And, that's not real, right? Who did you really connect with and who do you want to keep in touch with? So just be real and, it's kind of like a relationship, right? You're trying us on, we're trying you on, and we want to see if there's going to be a fit in the end.
Ditto? No, I'm kidding. So all of those things for sure, but I think for me what stood out for a lot of candidates, because I've done a lot of interviewing over the years, is candidates that were really well balanced. And I think a lot of you guys definitely would have had that experience. So a balance between like strong academics. Like they said, there's a minimum average. We want everyone that we take in to be successful in the UFE process, but a balance of academics, work experience, extracurricular involvement, because work is a big juggling act, especially in your first year, right? As you're transitioning from school to work and you're studying for the exams and you're juggling your personal life and a new job and all of that. So demonstrating balance already in university shows someone that would make that transition easier. I think people who are good at networking, like we've already said before, the summer student positions are very competitive. So I had a lot of people that applied for summer and didn't get in and sort of contacted me afterwards and said, what made my application different from someone else's? How can I differentiate myself? And I had like 3 or 4 people who emailed me this year and said, I really took your advice. I did this extracurricular thing this year. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to tell you about it at the information session. And that's a really great skill set, because a lot of times at work you're going to be networking, and it's important to be able to build relationships with recruiters and different people at the firm, just like you would build relationships with your clients, right? So and just having a genuine interest in the firm. We're people too, so we want to know that you really are interested in our company and you want to join us. So make sure that you show that you're interested in the firms that you're speaking to and that you want to be there.
What you're saying is, attitude is really important, and openness to learning and to asking questions and to experiencing pretty much anything, like as part of your professional development, professionalism, and solid work ethic, and just flexibility as well. Okay. So now I'd like to open the discussion to the floor. If anyone has a question for one or all of the panelists, put up your hand and state whether you're directing it to, who you're directing it to. Keep in mind that there will be a chance later on to speak to the panelists on a more individual basis. So if you could just ask questions that are, this feedback is bothering me, sorry. If you could ask questions that are broad enough that they apply to the entire group or as many people as possible, that would be great. Okay, and if you are asking a question, if you could stand up and ask the question, that would be helpful too. Anybody have a question? Hi.
I'm a second-year student applying for summer internships, and I've heard how competitive it is, and we sure all know that the economy hasn't been as great. So I just wanted to find out if that's affecting any of the internships and hiring this year. And also, do you guys tend to hire more third years, or do second years have a chance? Like I know PwC has a specific program. How about all the other firms?
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat the question. So given the economic situation now, does that have an impact on hiring and opportunities available in the firms? And your second question, the second part of your question was, is there a preference in hiring upper level students as opposed to lower level students?
I think just the question about numbers, economy, and hiring numbers. I'll actually speak on behalf of all the firms because we've already discussed this. Numbers are still the same from last year and the year before. All of the firms, we don't look, 3 months in advance, we look 3 years ahead. So numbers haven't changed, so you don't need to worry, and everyone's still hiring. I don't hire I don't hire summer students, but I'm pretty sure that everyone focuses more on third year than second year, just because you've done more accounting courses by third year, and so there's more to assess there. And that's, I don't know if anyone feels differently, but
The same goes for KPMG. We don't do less than third years, but the recruiting process now, I think, is moving towards year-round recruiting. to your point, it's not just comes down to 2 weeks of things. So if you're here and you're continually coming to events and stuff, when it does come to next year and you're in the third year, you've been out there and people will recognize you and remember you. So you sort of got a head start. So while it's not going to happen maybe this year, you've increased your potential for next year.
And as you mentioned, so PwC does have a special Pwc Experience Program for second years, so we do hire second years, but that program is really limited. But as he mentioned, just getting the experience for yourself and coming out to the events as early on as possible is the best way to build great relationships. I had a friend who started coming out to the events in first year, and him and the recruiter were going for lunch in third year, right? And at that year, people were just meeting the recruiter, right? So it's great to get exposure. You'll get a better feel for the firms because you'll have met so many reps by the time you're really interested in getting hired. So kudos to you.
I would just add to that, saying yes, it's the same for us too. You're not you're doing a good job of coming here early. The key message here would be to not just come once a year or twice a year, and that's just keep in touch, build a relationship, so that when we are hiring, let's say third year or fourth year, that we actually know you. So it's up to you how you want to build that relationship, but good job being here.
Question? Yes. Sorry, there.
So my question is that you guys mentioned that the candidate will have to go through a couple of interviews. So what would be the best way to prepare for an interview that would help us get better for?
Okay, so I'm going to repeat the question. The question is about how to best prepare for interviews, whether the first, second, third. Any advice on that?
As mentioned before, the interviews are very behavioral based, so I don't think you really have to study anything or really prepare for it. One thing I would add is if you can find a friend who's either gone through the process or who's had interviews with firms, if they can sit with you and actually do a mock interview with you. Certain things we don't realize that we say really comes up in mock interviews. I know when I was getting interviewed for Deloitte, I did a mock interview as well and got some great feedback from that interview, and it really helped me prepare for some of the questions I was going to get beforehand. So that would really help. But questions would be, what have you done on this job? Or give me, your 3 strengths or your weaknesses. When did you have to take a lead role in the team? What was this project about? So the questions would be like that, and something you've already done, so it's no real preparation required.
So you can, obviously sign up for mock interviews. I know the APAA will be doing it, I don't know when they'll be doing mock interviews, but I know you guys just did a round of them here on campus not too long ago. You can Google mock interview questions and practice on your own. One thing I just want to caution you on when you're interviewing, it's I, not we. So as soon as I hear we, and you all do it, we'll bring you back to the I. But if we want, again, I'll say this again, if we want to interview you and your friends, I'll bring all of you guys in. But you've been selected for a reason. So think of your answers and what did I do in this situation? How was I the leader? How did I do this? Because we is not what we're asking for. Okay.
The only thing I would add is, to your point, there are behavioral questions, but think about the attributes or the skill set that you would need that we are looking for. The big things, not everything. Communication, teamwork, leadership, and then sort of sit back and think about what examples you have had over the last 3 or 4 years that you've at school. And it doesn't even have to be at school. It could be at work. It could be on a soccer team or anything. And sort of just think about that. Don't try and memorize things for an interview, because if you have that blank moment in there, just sort of think that this is about you. So that, just try and think along those lines.
I think going back to what was mentioned before about the attributes, so what I did was I went through my resume and I really thought about what are the core values that I learned about the firms, and I thought, okay, so PwC is very focused on teamwork, excellence, and leadership. How do all of my experiences that I have on my resume demonstrate that? Because you want to be cognizant of not always coming back to one experience, right? So the time that I was president of the Accounting Society, and when I was president of the Accounting Society, it makes the interviewer sort of think, not that there's anything wrong with being president of the Accounting Society, that's great. Whatever it is, right? You don't want to just refer to one experience because you make the interviewer sort of think like, is that all the person did in their 4 years of university? So make sure that you're thinking about all the characteristics of the other executive team that you were on or the soccer team that you coached. Whatever it is, think about how you've demonstrated all those qualities in all of your different extracurriculars or work experiences. And also, going back to the question about multiple interviews, make sure that what you're communicating to the interviewers is consistent. I'll give you an example. From last year, I talked to this guy who worked at the circulation desk at Ross Library. And he was telling me about his time there, and then he told me that he actually got fired. And then I spoke to another person that he had interviewed with, and he definitely did not communicate that to them. So you question when someone's not being inconsistent in what they're communicating, so just be straight up. Yeah.
I just wanted to add, so I think similar to Deloitte, Grant Thornton, we actually interview in teams. So often, you'll obviously have different, varying members of level of seniority of the firm. So, pay attention to both interviewers. If you notice you're sitting in a room with a partner and a manager, don't stare at the partner the entire time because it's a 50-50 decision. So don't play letterhead. There are two interviewers. Be nice to the receptionist. Be nice to everybody because everyone has a part of, a piece of the pie in the decision making. So that person who you may have been rude to in the elevator might have been a partner at the firm. So I'm just, not trying to scare you, but maybe I am, I don't know. But just be vigilant of, especially when you're on premises, where are you? And you want to get to meet many people and make a positive impression.
In terms of Career Center, we actually provide one-on-one interview practice sessions where there is a camera in the room and we can take the session. We'll do a mock interview with you, ask you commonly asked behavioral questions, go through that entire process. We'll review the video and critique it together. We also have a great interview skills workshop where you learn about everything that the panelists have talked about, how to prepare, how to answer commonly asked questions, what kinds of questions to ask in interviews. Make sure you do have some questions prepared for the interviewers. So yeah, and you can access that by just coming to the Career Center. Okay. So I'm going to take your question now, the gentleman in the burgundy tie.
I have a question for all of you regarding the online applications. Do you want the CACEE form in addition to the resume or as a replacement? Because I noticed that some of you mentioned CACEE forms. And the other part about the online applications is I noticed that some websites don't specify exactly who to send the cover letter to, who to address specifically. Where can we find that information?
Okay, so just a clarification question about what is actually submitted as part of the application. Is it the Casey form or the resume? And who do you address your application to?
Can I safely say we don't use the Casey form? I don't think anyone here in Ontario uses the Casey form. I think they use it more in Quebec and out west, like Calgary, Alberta. So chances are if you've run into that comment, you might be on a job posting that is intended for a position in that one of those regions. So you might have just gone to the wrong posting. Your second question was?
Who to address in the cover.
So yeah, and I don't think any of our postings have our contact details. I would just address it to who the recruiting manager is, or specific to that campus. That's why you come out to these events, right? So in general, I know when it says "Dear Hiring Manager," I know you probably haven't done a lot of research on the firm, or you didn't really care enough to find out who that person is. So I can say for Grant Thornton, you can address your applications to me. But in general, I think all the other firms, as long as you're addressing it to someone on the recruiting team, someone who works at that firm, it's a good thing.
So if you didn't have time or chance to meet with the hiring manager, but you talk to, let's say, a manager, senior manager, senior staff accountant at the firm who was there at the recruiting event, you can actually address it to them as well. But make sure, if you're sending an application to me, you have my company name at the bottom of that, not any other firm's name. So make sure you are addressing it to the right person at the right company.
The only thing I'd add is when you are addressing it to a person, don't email me your form. You have to submit it. Like it's for us at KPMG, if you don't submit the form through the online application, it's as good as not. And unfortunately, that's
Do not email your resumes to us.
yes.
Any of us.
And we don't mean it, in a bad way or anything, but,
It won't be tracked if you don't.
See what you offer, and if you need to beef it up, beef it up. If you need to put yourself out there more and be more social, try it, right? But make the effort. I think that's where I think people win and lose their jobs. So.
Is there anything that students who don't get in initially, and like if this year, if they're applying, they don't get in this year, is there anything that they could be doing in terms of getting experience or building certain skills that will help them down the road or the next time they apply?
I'll start with that, I guess. If you don't get in this year, you don't have to go and look for an accounting job before you can apply with us again. We're not looking for accounting experience. I didn't even have it before I got hired. Any sort of experience where you can show us that you have good communication skills, you've worked in teams. And these things may sound very generic and very repetitive to you, but these are some of the basic things we do look for. Working in your projects in school, that's a part of teamwork. So you should be able to put that out there in your resume, in your cover letter. Doing volunteer experience, volunteer work is a great way as well. And if you happen to have accounting work, of course, that's an added bonus. Not to say that's a requirement, but if you have it, if you can do it, then put it there.
I guess just to add on to Shweta's comment, it's just transferable skills, right? So again, are we looking, even for new grads, are we looking for people with accounting backgrounds or accounting experience? No, I mean, you could have worked at McDonald's for the last 5 years. That's fine. It's transferable skills, customer service, teamwork, communication, organizational, all of those things that we can take and bring you into the firm. Even if you have accounting experience, chances are what you've done at a smaller firm or, whatever the case is, we're probably going to have to reteach you how to do things our way anyhow. And I think that pretty much works for all of the firms up here. So while accounting experience is great, it's not necessary, and just because you have it doesn't make you a shoo-in either, right? So it's about the skill base, and that's why we kind of ask behavioral questions, for example, in our interviews.
Anything else to add?
I would say also beyond work experience, just expanding your extracurricular involvement and getting involved in projects that you're really excited about that are different, right? Because when we were talking about having things that jump off of your resume that are different, that's a really good way to differentiate yourself through like some really exciting volunteer work or extracurricular work. And that's like a good way to balance out your resume, because oftentimes, especially in Atkinson, you have good work experience behind you, right? A lot of you are working jobs at the same time as you're in school, which definitely shows great balance for all the firms. So that extracurricular may be something else that will differentiate you.
Okay, so my last question before I open the discussion to the floor. Thinking back to the candidates and applicants that you have come across, what would you say distinguish those individuals who succeeded at the various stages of the recruitment process from those who did not? So basically, what made those who succeeded successful?
I can start. I think it goes back to the question we just sort of had an answer, was in terms of it doesn't come down to, you've got to have a minimum average grade to get through, the interview process to get accepted at the firm. But the rest of it really comes down to the fit. And I'm not selling KPMG slogan, it really does. That was not deliberate. But really it comes down to how you'd come into the firm and work. Because really, the organizations are team-based. We are a team, we're people. Our biggest assets at all the firms are people. It's not an accounting book. It's not, any sort of textbook. It's really the people. We sell the people. We deploy the people out there. So what it comes down to for us, for the successful candidates, is the people that sort of can get out there and talk to different people who you've met on campus, you've met different people. When you come to the interview, be able to answer the questions as honestly as you can and as best to your ability that you can. And those answers basically then project out to how it would work in a firm, in a KPMG or a Deloitte or PwC environment. So if how you worked in a group where you had a setting where you had a difficult person who wasn't pulling their weight, it's the same thing in a team-based at a different firm. So I think it comes down to the successful candidates. It's basically your ability to show your personality, to show your attributes. What is your skill set that you can bring? As long as you've got your grade, we don't really look to see, A+ in auditing, A- in management accounting. We assume you know nothing when you came into the firm, and basically we teach you everything. That's what the whole CA process is teaching you what you need to know, those essentials. You can get that and learn that. That's not a problem. So my thing, in summary, in this long-winded Australian way to say things, is really it's your qualities. It's what you bring that sets you apart, and it's showing your personality at the end of the day and showing your attributes.
Seems like it doesn't leave much for me to say. No. So just adding to KPMG's comments, I would say be a look for people who do have a vision. When we bring you into the firm, we think you could be our future leaders, who are going to be running our firm.
And that's not real, right? Who did you really connect with, and who do you want to keep in touch with? So just be real, and it's kind of like a relationship, right? You're trying us on, we're trying you on, and we want to see if there's going to be a fit in the end.
Ditto? No, I'm kidding. So all of those things for sure, but I think for me what stood out for a lot of candidates, because I've done a lot of interviewing over the years, is candidates that were really well balanced. And I think a lot of you guys definitely would have had that experience. So a balance between like strong academics. Like they said, there's a minimum average. We want everyone that we take in to be successful in the UFE process, but a balance of academics, work experience, extracurricular involvement, because work is a big juggling act, especially in your first year, right? As you're transitioning from school to work and you're studying for the exams and you're juggling your personal life and a new job and all of that. So demonstrating balance already in university shows someone that would make that transition easier. I think people who are good at networking, like we've already said before, the summer student positions are very competitive. So I had a lot of people that applied for summer and didn't get in and sort of contacted me afterwards and said, what made my application different from someone else's? How can I differentiate myself? And I had like 3 or 4 people who emailed me this year and said, I really took your advice. I did this extracurricular thing this year. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to tell you about it at the information session. And that's a really great skill set, be able to build relationships with recruiters and different people at the firm, just like you would build relationships with your clients, right? So and just having a genuine interest in the firm. We're people too, so we want to know that you really are interested in our company and you want to join us. So make sure that you show that you're interested in the firms that you're speaking to and that you want to be there.
Yeah, I think again, not to belabor it, but fit for sure. But even more than that, like when I'm talking to somebody, immediately what I'm thinking is, okay, 1, would I like this person to work for me? 2, can I see this person in front of my clients? Like, hey, Julie, I'm gonna go back to the office for a few hours. Will you be okay here? And feel confident. And 3 is really, while I'm talking to you right there, like, do I really feel like you're being genuine? Are you being yourself? And so, kind of like Sue said as well, you wanna be. It's like a date, right? And if you go on a date, if you pretend to be somebody else, at the end of the date, maybe she or he really likes you, but if you were somebody else, you're just you're in for a long, hard road, right? Because you got to keep that up all the time. But if you're yourself, it'll be reciprocal. So you'll find someone that likes you, but hopefully that firm likes you, but hopefully you like the firm as well. So the only way to do that is just be yourself. Try to be comfortable. I know sometimes it can be a little nerve-wracking, but try and be comfortable and present yourself in the best light possible that we would feel like I could put this person in front of my clients and be comfortable.